So we're coming off of the end of the Sumerian flashback here. So I guess we're picking up from the end of chapter 7. And I guess we're seeing like the Jujutsu Council of Japan or whatever reacting to what had happened between the trio taking on that curse user Takeda that eventually ended with Maru getting injured and going on like that subconscious rampage. They're saying things like, don't you think we're letting the aliens get away with too much? I heard it was the Sumerians who refused your suggestion for escort Usami. Usami was suggesting to Cross that like, hey, let's have the Japanese doctors take care of Mars. You know, it's kind of our fault. It's on the house or, you know, something like that. It was kind of a way to like de-escalate the situations, especially with the other Sumerians finding out that Maru had gotten injured. They're also acknowledging that like when Maru was unconscious and went to like his berserk autopilot mode, he did like attack Tsurugi. Even though Usami tried to delete that part of the video, the other guy's like, so according to Article 7 of the Jujutsu regulations, the Sumerians should be categorized as threats. And Usami's like, well, you know, not according to the Hikari provision. And of course, this is in reference to like the Hikari from the original series. And the girl here is like, yeah, a long time ago, there was talk about making Jujutsu battles into performances as a form of public gambling. The government made the existence of cursed spirits public due to the Culling game, so Article 8's secrecy clause basically lost all meaning. And that makes sense because that was like Hikari's whole thing. He loved gambling, and when we were actually introduced to him like for the first time, it was revealed that he had like this Jujutsu fight gambling circuit thing going on. But anyway, long story short, Usami's like, well, you know, considering how the laws and rules work, it's okay if sorcerers fight if they're being paid. And considering that all three of them were contracted and approved under Jujutsu headquarters, it's fine that this happened, even if it is an alien attacking a human. The one guy talking to Usami's like, why are you going out of your way to side with the Sumerians? And then Usami's like, why are you going out of your way to side against them? And then the guy says, because in diplomacy, once they stop taking you seriously, it's all over. They've already kept us in check once. It's time for us to demonstrate the power of our own deterrent. We need to find Yuji Itadori. So yes, this is like the big hype moment of this chapter. Finally, they are straight up acknowledging Yuji. I mean, we've seen him before in the series at least 2 times, and he's been alluded to a couple chapters back with that whole Hito sequence that we talked about at length multiple times. But now we're like fully seeing him, and they're saying his name. Hey, also guys, can we please try to get 2,000 likes on this video? Go ahead, grab that phone, hit that like button, and it would help me out so much. Thank you guys. So first of all, this means that they don't know where he is. And that also means that the audience doesn't know where he is. So we can just speculate about that endlessly. But also, I guess this implies that what we're seeing here is Yuji like currently, right? I don't know if this is like a flashback to him, but it just seems like this is what's going on right now. And if that is the case, then that's pretty exciting because Yuji's not old. Because, you know, it is like 68 years or something, 6-7 years into the future at this point from the ending of the original series. And we were speculating, well, since Kotsu and Maki were super old, they actually die in the first chapter of old age, that Yuji's probably old too. He'd be like in his 80s or something, but no, he still looks pretty young. I mean, his age is ambiguous, but he doesn't look older than, let's say, 30. But if this is current day Yuji and he still looks young like this, there is a logical explanation to it. And it's because Yuji isn't like a normal human. He's like an augmented cursed womb that Kenjaku made to be the vessel for Sukuna figures. And he's also the son of Sukuna's reincarnated brother that was eaten in the womb or whatever. And we saw that Choso, who is very similar to Yuji, is like over 150 years old or whatever, something like that. And he still looks pretty young, even though most of his life was in incubation. And Yuji did wind up eating the other cursed wombs that were technically his brothers. So all of that together makes sense that Yuji would still be young and either just straight up stops aging at a certain point or just ages extremely slowly. Like, I don't know, like a Saiyan would or something. And I hope that's the case because like we talked about in last week's review, it seems like this series is headed towards Yuji versus Deborah. And considering what's going on in this chapter, that makes me think that it's even more likely. So we want to see like prime Yuji taking on Deborah. We don't want to see like 80-year-old something Yuji, who's, you know, maybe past his prime or whatever, taking on Deborah. We want to see our boy at the peak of his power, looking young and cool, taking on Deborah. So fingers crossed, let's hope that is what is actually going on here. Because also them saying here that we need to find Yuji Itadori is because, you know, he said if they stop taking us seriously, it's already over. And we see later on in this chapter when the Sumerians are talking about themselves, a lot of them want to just straight up take over humanity. Like, they know that we are kind of weak in relation to them, especially Deborah. And Jujutsu headquarters is aware of it too. I mean, we talked about this as well in the previous review. There's not a lot of strong characters. Like, all of the powerhouses that were around in the first series, they're gone, and there's not even like updated contemporaries to them. So Yuji is by far the one above all in the world right now. So this guy wanting Yuji to come back into the fray to show the Sumerians like, hey, we have the god of sorcerers who can just essentially willingly do a black flash if he wanted to. So, you know, watch your tone, okay? Because he'll just do 17 black flashes in a row. And he'll also literally manipulate your soul if he wanted to. But anyway, as usual, Usami's trying to deflate the situation. It's like, hey, you know, let's not do that. Let's just try to make it work with the Sumerians. We don't have to show them our atomic bombs just yet. So after this, then we come to the Sumerian side of things, and we're seeing that guy from the Sumerian flashback. I don't know if we got his name, maybe we did, but he's like one of the Rumelians that, you know, gets the most screen time besides Maru, Cross, Dora, and Japaloma. And this whole big sequence is just talking about them voting to see if they want to coexist with the Earthlings or not, especially because of what just happened with Maru and him getting injured. He's also mentioning here, it's like, they said now that Dora is gone, Deborah is the most qualified to be our chieftain. And they think that because he's an outsider, he can make the most objective decisions. So as we saw in the flashback in the previous chapter, Deborah is not the same type of race as like Maru and Cross and the rest of them. They're all Rumelians, and Deborah is a Deskunte, and the Deskunte are like bad people of Sumeria. They're essentially like aggressive authoritarians, as where the Rumelians are religious and somewhat peaceful. But as we also saw, Deborah is kind of like an outlier amongst the Deskunte. He's not necessarily aggressive or authoritative. He's just ultra powerful, and he kind of wants peace in his own way too. Like, he didn't even want to kill Dora, who was like the Gojo of the Rumelians. He was just forced to do it. So that's why he came with them in the first place, is because that was Dora's last wish. And I guess Deborah himself doesn't want to be affiliated with the Deskunte anymore. And the way that the Sumerian politics essentially works is that the strongest guy is the leader. So yeah, Deborah is the leader because he's the strongest. So long story short, the majority votes that they're going to coexist with the Earthlings. But the way that it's being framed, it's like it could change at any point, because originally it's implied that they voted that they didn't want to coexist with them, but then it got overturned or something. And Deborah's response to this is like, yeah, sounds fine to me. Conflict or invasion, to put it bluntly, can be done at any time. However, once we begin an invasion, there will be no further chance to properly understand each other. So he is open to trying to understand and coexist, but he's also not against just overthrowing them. Like, he is a good guy, but he's not like Maru. He's definitely very capable of just overthrowing them if he wanted to. Then coming into the end of this chapter, it essentially boils down to the group planning to have like a dinner party with the Sumerian hierarchy. And they're all going to eat takoyaki and stuff like that. So I guess that's where the next chapter is headed. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. If you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.